Hello everyone, I'm Edo and today I'm going to talk about the Array.prototype.map. So Array.prototype.map or map is a higher order function that applies a given function to each element of a functor, in this case an array. I'm not going to get into details about what a functor is right now, because this is an introductory explanation. So basically in JavaScript, the map method creates a new array populated with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. So let's see it in action. We have this array of numbers, and let's suppose that we want to create a new array with the double of each item. So I'm going to create a new variable called double, and I'm going to use the numbers variable and apply the map methods. So the map method requires you to use a callback. And this callback is nothing more than a function which receives an item and returns whatever you want. So in this case, we want to return item times 2. Okay. Let's console log double and see it in action. So double, let's go. I'm using a VS Code add-on called Code Runner, which allows me to press play here and run the results of my code. So in this case I had a mistake here, it's numbers, and okay, it's working. But if you do not have Code Runner installed, this is the same of running node with the name of the file which you are using. So in this case, if I go to the terminal, I'm using this map.js file, so if I do node map.js, I would have the same result. And basically that's what Code Runner is doing, but I find it very useful for recording these videos. So this item that we are using in the callback, it's the current value of the item which we are iterating, but you can call it other thing. Let's say we want to call it current value, and this works the same. And the callback used in map accepts more parameters besides current value. So it also accepts an index and the entire array which we are mapping over. Sometimes this is useful according to what you're doing. So let's see it in action. If you console log current value, and now we are going to console log the index, and we are going to console log the array, and we are going to comment this console log a bit for us to see map calling the callback for each item in the array. So if I press play, Code Runner is going to run, and it shows for each item in the array, you see the current value, which is 100. You see that its index is 0, and the entire array of numbers, and you see that 100 is in the position 0 or in the index 0 of the array. And you can always use these 3 parameters or arguments when you are using the callback inside map. Okay, great. So let's get back to where we were before, and let's simplify this a bit. So let's transform this function in an ES6 function or arrow function. And because we are just returning a one-liner, we can suppress the return and simply do this. If I use Code Runner, let's grab our console log back. So, okay, so double is here, we run it and we see that it's working correctly. So the next step to simplify this is to move the callback inside the map. So map is an higher order function, and this means that it operates with other functions either by taking them as arguments or by returning them. And that's the only thing you need to know about map as an higher order function. So if we run it again, we see that it works, and we can use map also to do more complex stuff. One of the things that is best is in transforming each item in other different items. Let's say we want to create a more complex data structure from each of the games items. So for doing this, I'm going to remove this code. I'm going to move my numbers const here. I'm going to grab this games array, which has my favorite titles from back in the days, 1985, on a ZX Spectrum 48K, and I'm going to use this games array to create a more complex object. So let's say we want to create a games object which will iterate over games with a map, and let's pass it a callback, and here our current value, let's say game title. And what do we want to return? So we want to return an object which has a title, which is game title, which has a year, which is 1985 as a string, and it has the platform, which is the X Spectrum 48K. Okay, at this time we are going to console log our games objects here, and if we run it, we see that we've transformed each one of the titles in an object. So games object is still an array, because map always returns an array, but each of the items of the new array is a complex object with key values. So our game title was bound to our title key, and then we have the year and the platform. And that's one of the main great usages of map. It is to transform items in other type of items without mutating the original array. So for instance, if we console log games, we see that the original array was not mutated and that it still exists and is available for us to use. Okay, so I think it's all for today, folks. If you have any questions, don't be shy. There are no dumb questions, just reach out and I'll be happy to answer you soon. Hope you have enjoyed this small explanation about map higher order function, and see you around. See you.